talk about the whole idea of all these IPOs, all these companies. You know, they're not. These are not all going to last. Like we went to the party last night for iLike and all sorts of Facebook app people. It's a tiny bit reminiscent of the last bubble, but these are smaller companies, and it's it's venture capital money, and I could care less about what happens to venture capitalists, and it's not in the public markets. But do you see these? There can only be several large companies, I would imagine, rather than 400 little widget companies.
Yes. So I think the perfect analogy, in fact, not an analogy, but reality, the social platforms are the new operating systems. And the widget companies, or the applications, as the word exists on Facebook, are independent software vendors.
Right.
And there are...
I always call Facebook AOL of this era kind of thing. Similar, closed,
yeah, maybe.
same kind of
AOL
relationship.
never allowed third-party applications.
No, absolutely
on
not.
Their,
No,
on their platforms.
no.
Facebook does, and
Just
so
it's a
do
souped-up, hipper version of the in a more open environment.
It's pretty hip. So these third-party apps are built by companies that have the potential, or some of them have the promise of being the next Electronic Arts, or Intuit, or Adobe, different segments, getting really, really focused, kind of like Slide is really focused on creative and personal communications, and just building that out, wazoo, getting huge, getting as big as the host himself. Adobe and EA, Adobe, Intuit market caps combined, you're going to start reaching Microsoft market cap.
Right.
And that's the Facebook of
So when you become these, it's a really good analogy, software vendors. What happens to those companies, and then what happens to say the Yahoos of the world? People feel like someone just suggested, they were saying, what should Yahoo do? They should widgetize themselves. They should have widgetized themselves and didn't. What do the big portals do? And then if this is this new paradigm of ubiquitous distribution where people can move pieces around at their will, what happens to those large companies?
Well, I think large companies have a lot of power still, so it's a little, it would be stupid to dismiss them entirely as having missed the boat.
Right.
I think all these companies are platforms. They're platforms simply by way of having distribution today. If you go to Yahoo, you're among millions and millions of people, and Yahoo so far have chosen to go down the road of, we're going to either buy or build the thing that's going to excite the users tomorrow. And as the new users come and the old users go, they have to keep on coming up with really cool creative things to engage them. They can work on network effects or switching costs, things that make you not leave Yahoo. But ultimately it's just expensive, and that's why you have this enormous staff of development people, both product and engineering, that just have to keep on building cool new things, because ultimately it's a destination site, and if the users go, the advertising revenue collapses. What Facebook has done, it's basically outsourced all that creative work to people like Slide, basically saying, hey, go build really cool stuff, and when you do, you can go monetize with us, with the users that we bring to the table, as long as you keep on getting them engaged.
Right, so they don't have to continue to be innovative if everybody else is around them.
Precisely. So I think what the smarter large companies will do, they'll figure out ways to open up components of their system and go to people like Slide and obviously many other companies like us and say, hey, you guys have shown great success on platform A. Why don't you come and build something for platform B, aka, I have no knowledge of Yahoo opening up so to make a great example. If there's ever going to be a Yahoo platform,
no, they're just opening up to content, third-party content. So I think it's going to be a while.
Well, it's an interesting internal struggle. It has to be inside these companies, because they've ultimately defined themselves over time from being a technology company more and more into being a media company, because they produce content, which is what drives traffic, what drives revenues. Facebook essentially said, you know what, we're not really ever going to be a media company. We're just a big technology shop. We have all these really smart engineers. They're going to let others go produce the content, or whatever it is they're going to produce.
Very Google kind of personality in that way.
So there's a better sort of question in your pantheon of large companies. I can see some of the more technologically inclined ones just saying, oh, cool idea. Guys, go build some cool things and plug them into our platform. So I think there'll be a lot of this. I mean, what Facebook has done, given the fact that they're currently celebrated as the right way to the platform, they figured out where the lines must be drawn. They figured out that we have to have the users, but you need the users to monetize and be successful and give them value, and we need you to have some access, but the users shouldn't be freaked out and lose their privacy. And it's actually a fairly complex privacy, security, relationship management, perception management problem. It's quite complicated. And so what they've done is actually they've calculated it, and it's more or less right.
Years ago, AOL used to have big things of their vendor. They used to have a lot of vendors like this, content vendors, and it sort of dropped away. But I remember big fairs, just like the F8 recently, where they would come, all sorts of different websites that would be hosted on AOL, which did go away after a while because they wanted complete control and domination, so they could build their crazy Ponzi scheme by themselves. So do you see this as the way of the future? All these smaller companies as being part of a larger thing where people
Well, I think
pick and
there'll be
choose?
lots of small companies, just like in the early days of the web. The
Mhm.
web was even a better analogy than the operating system is the web itself. You can
Right.
just show up and build a page, and people might show up and they might not show up.
Right.
And the web was the ultimate open platform. Nobody managed it. The problem with it, as it became denser and denser with various kinds of pages, things became harder and harder to find. Moreover, discovery, things that you don't know you want,
Mhm.
became nearly impossible. You can't go to Google and type in "give me some good time" or "show me some fun," and I think I just flipped those two, but show me some good time online sounds terrible. Google will give you lots of interesting things, but they're
Right.
probably not the ones you want. In fact, they're probably the ones you kind of want to shy away from sometimes.
Right.
And the next iteration of the same idea of discovering cool new things to do is social platforms like Facebook, like any of the blogging or social networking platforms, basically saying, you guys are already here. You're hanging out, you're having fun. Let us just pour a torrent of great new stuff for you to do.
Right.
You should never leave. The web out there, you don't know where to find cool stuff.
Right.
Here, look at all these cool apps.